you for doing so. So I am here to talk to you about being an African American woman in the Trump administration. I'll hold that for a few minutes. What I'll first do is tell you how I got started. Harry named a couple of things, but I'm of a daughter of a mother who is sitting on the front row. And my mother never gave us advice with a chaser. She always said, I ain't finna sugarcoat it. And having a father who was a former Panther and just an all-off hard kind of guy because he's a former Marine. I was one of those people who grew up and they kept singing this song, We Shall Overcome. So I said, well, excuse my language, when the hell are we going to overcome? This is 2000 and such and such. When are we going to overcome? So I decided to join an organization that was doing something who sung that song a lot. So I wanted to see what they were doing about helping us overcome. And as a single mother of 4, my oldest 2 were girls. They were rough. My younger 2 are boys, and I had more trouble out of the girls than I had out of the boys. And I tried to understand why, but I guess it was something in the water. So I joined the NAACP to help keep me afloat and active in the community and in my children's lives as they were going to school here in Muskogee County. I'll talk about Muskogee County School District later. But the NAACP has 6 game changers: education, health, economic sustainability, criminal justice and public safety, political action and political representation, economic sustainability, and youth engagement. Youth engagement is something that is so critical and so needed nowadays with foster care and so many other things that's going on in our communities. But the NAACP is here. Last Monday, we celebrated 109 years in existence. We are the oldest, the boldest, the largest, and the baddest civil rights organization in America, and I'm proud to be your president. So in education, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that the NAACP is doing state and locally. I also heard Harry say that in 2015 and 2017, that the Columbus branch was the only branch in the state of Georgia to win the National Thelmheimers Award, which is the highest award that any branch can receive for programs and activities. And if y'all saw me go to jail July 2016, that was one of the reasons why. Because we were out protesting and doing what our God-given talent and right as an American citizen in protest to do. No, we did not. So we did not have a permit. It was not an NAACP organized event, but there was a group of young Democrats that called me at 11:58 p.m. and said, Madam President, would you come march with me? And I said, sure, I'll see y'all tomorrow. And we began to protest. Patricia Lassiter was on that front line, but Patricia didn't go to jail, but she was smart. And we did tell everyone, we may be participating in civil disobedience today, so if you don't want to go to jail, you might want to stop now. And there were a whole lot of people that decided to follow us and lead the charge. So, as I am excited, hello, we have a mayoral candidate in the room. Hi, how are you? Would you like to say hello? I'm sorry, this is going to be a political speech in a few minutes, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Would you like to say hello to everyone?
I'd like to tell everybody your story, if that's all right.
Sure. You can have a couple of my minutes. Go ahead.
It was about a year ago. My name's Danny Aaron, so you get none of that matters right now. But thank you for giving me a chance to tell the story. About a year ago, I had one of my bank representatives over at my store. I'm over at Rivertown, Florida. He finally spent there for about 3 years. And, a lot of it was during the Black Lives Matter, the violence that was going on. And a lot of people just didn't understand how before the movement started to take place at the football game. And I said, I don't get it. I mean, I'm Hispanic. I know what it's like to be brown in this town. Believe like to be ground in this town. But I don't understand that, he said, Danny. He said, you were born in the U.S. Yes, I was. If you wanted to trace back to your heritage, you can pay the $100, and then you can go and figure it out, genealogy or something like that, right? I never wanted to pay the $100. But I could if I wanted to. He said, I can't do that. He said, what are you talking about? You can't do that. He said, hey, don't you understand that they would, not 200 years ago, not even 100 years ago, really, they would take families and tear them apart so that they couldn't recognize each other. And that broke my spirit and it broke my heart. And I live, this might come back to bite me, but I live in the most segregated place that I've ever lived in. And somebody has got to stop talking about it, stop trying to stand up for it, to even stop fighting for it. Somebody's got to bring the unity to this town.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. And you are so very correct. And I'm going to, before I go into my NAACPism, I'm going to piggyback off of that. My mother will be celebrating her 66th birthday today. My grandparents had 14 children, and out of all of them, my mother's the only one without a birth certificate. And so, if I will go back and try to trace, I know who my grandparents, I know who my great-grandparents are. I thank God that He allowed me to be alive and allowed them to be alive and be in my life, because I know my great-grandparents lived and talked with them. And my mother always says, I don't know where I'm from. They done gave me to somebody. They picked me up off the side of the road. That's what she's laughing because that's what she always says. But I will say this. With or without genealogy, there's no other country I would rather be in, because 5% of us made it, and I'm of that 5% that made it across that road. I know it was a boat, but I said road because my family is from Stewart County, Georgia. That's Lumpkin and Richland, the poorest county in the state of Georgia. But my grandparents and my great-grandparents had enough sense to put money back. I am the descendant of the oldest black cemetery in Richland, Georgia, called the Bryant Cemetery. It's still alive, and it cannot be bought or sold. And the only people that can be buried in it has to be relatives. So after I pass away, I want y'all to come visit me down at Bryant Cemetery.
That's all right.
So, even though we had some challenges as African Americans, I know my grandparents, when I became the state secretary, well before I became president, my grandma said, Oscar, them folk done let that girl in that organization, look at her on the TV. And I was proud because my grandma didn't have a first grade education. But she was proud that she could look on the TV and see her granddaughter. And so, even though we got so many, and I appreciate you because the black and the brown race, we got to stick together. From appearances, you look white. And so you may get a little bit more out of this community than I will, even if I was a black man. But you keep on pushing, because I like what you said, and I said it to them when I ran for state president 3 weeks ago. Talk is cheap. We've been listening to it. You be in regular organizations, and these people will sell us out quicker than the politician that we voted to get in office. Why would people sell out the NAACP? Because again, I will tell you that we are the largest, the boldest, the baddest, and the oldest secular civil rights organization in the world. And if I can infiltrate the NAACP, I can infiltrate anything. But Tonza Thomas cannot be bought or sold. Back to my speech. So in education, the NAACP is looking to increase resources for equity to give back to those students that are more needy than others. I am a 2-year resident of South Columbus. Before South Columbus, I lived in North Columbus, Twin Chapel to be exact. And my son, my baby boy, from North Columbus Elementary to North Columbus High. My oldest boy graduated from North Columbus High. But I didn't believe what people were saying because I was raised in South Columbus after we came back from Rhode Island. Help me, no problem. But when I came to Columbus, I always thought that I had came to Mayberry. We're talking about Columbus. But Providence, Rhode Island being the capital of Rhode Island, and we're living on the same street with Cambodians and Cape Verdeans and Africans and Italians. I didn't know I was black till I went to Victory Drive. And I'm sorry, but that was in 1989. And my mother, we was riding down the street and we was looking for something, and my mom said, "Roll down the window and ask that man what such and such for." And that man looked at me as if he could have spit in my face. And I, as a teenager, said, "Come on over here." And so those kind of feelings and those kind of agitations and adjectives came up as a young girl in Columbus. Going to Eddie Junior High, and the last of the freshman class at Baker High School. That's another story. But we are also ensuring college readiness. We want to make sure that when our children do leave elementary and middle school, that they're ready to go to high school, and definitely in high school, you got to be on somebody's job. We can't have, everybody can't be an entrepreneur. If we could, probably some of us wouldn't be sitting in this room. Because as an entrepreneur, you are behind the scenes on every single aspect of your dollars, your marketing, and to make sure that you're putting out good product to your customers.
Exactly.
They always say, customers are right. I beg to differ, but most of the time they are. So we are making sure that our students are getting ready for college so that when they walk out of that college door, they can go get a job anywhere. I don't know, that just seems better to me. If we have young men and women standing on the street corner selling drugs, we might as well get them ready for college. Because I'm going to tell y'all something about that. We're also fighting to end mass incarceration, which is also tied to education, because if you don't have an education, guess what? Crime is coming. But let me talk to you a little bit about drug dealers. If we were to talk to those little children and say, well, guess what? You got a product. Your product costs a certain amount of money. You go market and package your product the way you want to package your product. And you're going to make your money. And then you can know how much money you're going to make today, this week, next week. Well, we're going to teach those children how to go into business, entrepreneurship, and marketing. Because if you're going to be risking your life on that corner from somebody killing you or from you going to jail, let me show you how you keep longevity. And so those are the conversations that we got to have with these kids. It's not about your pants down. Let their pants be down. Bring them in the conversation with their pants down. Before they leave, their pants will be up, I promise you. Improving teachers. Growing our own great teachers in our own community. How many of you remember last year's Camelot deal? Okay. That's when I fell in hell. I'm sorry I used that word again. But there were so many educators from Muskogee County. There were so many special needs parents. And there were so many community activists saying, there's something wrong with this picture when they got to bring resources from another state into Columbus. We don't know who they are, but we know that they had bad reviews in at least 4 of the areas that they were in. Camelot education. They said, Madam President, you have to say something on behalf of the community. I said, okay, let me see what I should say. So, being the NAACPer that I am and a researcher, I went back to our policies that we passed in the 2015 National Convention in Las Vegas. And it spoke about the NAACP would be against all for-profit public education because education should be free to all K through 12.
K through college.
So a lot of people were like,
K through college.
thanks, Jerry. There's no use in the room. But a lot of people were like, some of our don't say it. Some of our preachers and family members are in the Muskogee County School District. So we had a company with $6.5 million. We had preachers, and we had the NAACP. Those two on this side, NAACP on this side. And I will tell you a David and Goliath story, because y'all already know the end result of this. That $6.5 million did not come to Muskogee County because it was unethical. It was unfair. You do not present something to the school board hours before you vote on it, not even weeks, with that kind of comprehensive plan. So we looked at it and we said, okay, school board members, we voted y'all in here. Remember, election is coming around again. Don't come to our churches when you want our vote, if we can't come to you when we have a problem. And so the Muskogee County School Board voted 5-4 in favor of Camelot not coming to Columbus. I was adamant. The parents were adamant. This is the first time that I will honestly say I have ever seen black and white parents in the same room having community meetings saying that they did not want this for their children. Yes, we have an issue with underage, overcredited, and most of them look like me. But there's also certain circumstances in their homes that cause them to drop out of school, because most parents, if they're a single parent household, many of them are living paycheck to paycheck and they're working. And so they're worried about putting bills and keeping the roof over their head, and they're not thinking about, okay, well, I need to go to this meeting with my child. I need to check on my child's homework. I wasn't that parent, but I knew that there were parents out there like that. And Miss Mary Ann Young, little old bitty short little white lady, I love her to death. But I regained my confidence in white America by working with those folks on that Camelot deal, because they were honest, they were raw, and they were true. And this is what they said. Tonza, I don't want my kids going to school with no gang members, because if they're in alternative school, guess what? Many of them have done something to be in alternative school. Let's look face to facts. No good kids go to alternative school, okay? So when those parents said, well, my child is going to be vulnerable because that kid is going to be picking on my kid. Well, the school board said that they won't even come in contact with each other. Where there's a will, there's a child. That's all I got to say about that. But our parents stood together and we stepped out on faith, and David beat Goliath because we had $0 to $6.5 million. And we won. And we thank God for that, because our children come first, our community educators come first. And when our educators said this is not good for Columbus, who was going to speak on it? The NAACP. Don't count us out. Is the NAACP still relevant? Yes. There would not be an Indivisible Columbus. There would not be an Indivisible worldwide if the NAACP was not relevant. Also, recently it came up in our school board, zero tolerance. I know y'all thought I wasn't going to talk about that N word, but I'm going to talk about it. So a lot of people wanted us to say something about that. That one thing we didn't say anything about, because you can call me the N word, you can call me the B word, but you won't forget to call me a child of God. If a white teacher is having a conversation, may not be culturally sensitive at all what she said, but that's where you give them and you provide training. But to do zero tolerance on using the N word, which is a part of our culture, I will tell you, people tell me all the time, don't say the N word. I'm the president of the NAACP. When I talk, excuse me, I'm going to come down for a second. When I talk to the ants and the elephants, I have to use different languages. And so when I'm talking to the ants and the elephants, whether they are elected officials or my neighbor, what's up? I'm not going to say it right now just to be politically correct. But that's my choice, because I'm an American. I can say what I want to say, but I would not go to another person and defame them in public from another race or not, because we got some choice words for another race too. But we don't use those things in the spirit of love. And so to have a zero tolerance policy in our school board, I think is a major mistake, because you point out and you hurt those that you don't intend to hurt. And I wish that we had enacted a cultural sensitivity training for our teachers and administrators. Also, cultural pedagogy. We talk about Black history, but do we really get Black history in school? If we do, in the month of February, we might get it once a week. But do we really know our history? Some of us don't. But I do know that most of us know that it is oppression. And a lot of people don't want to talk about slavery. A lot of people don't want to talk about reparations. But I want mine. I want my 40 acres and the mule. Right? So that's it that I wanted to talk about where education is concerned. But if we're going to say children are our future, we got to teach them something. We don't want to say children are our future and we send them out there ill-equipped. They are our future leaders. And they are, if you're paying attention to the millennials, if you're paying attention to the Black Lives Matter movement, those are the young folk that are saying we are tired of being sick and tired. And I'm 43 and I'm about to get tired too. So we got to make sure that we teach them the proper way to handle things. My next topic is about health. The NAACP preaches and promotes ACA all the time. But the one thing that we've decided to focus our attention on is HIV/AIDS in the Black church. I know it's one of those stigma subjects, but HIV and AIDS is real. There are just as many straight people as gay people dying from AIDS. There are just as many gay people and straight people that are newly affected with HIV. The highest growing population is African American women. And I wonder why, because we can't give it to ourselves. I'm not HIV positive, or do I have AIDS? But I advocate for those folk because I got family members who suffer with it. I got friends who suffer with it. I have a friend in the room who this is what they do in the community to try to bring awareness to them. But here's the problem. This is why the NAACP decided to go in the Black church. Y'all might know this, but if you don't, I'm gonna help you along. Where do politicians go when they want to talk to the masses of Black people?
Church.
Who has the most influence over their flock? So where do the politicians and everybody else go? They flock to the church. So if you have the largest population of African American people in your church, then why not talk to them about HIV/AIDS? You got a plan in your music department. They used to call them tambourine players. No, they're not. They're real people. We can let you come up in the church and do your thing on Sunday. We don't care about what you do on Monday, and that's unfair. If I'm going to be listening to the sound of the pastor's voice, the pastor's supposed to be helping me heal my soul. And my soul may be affected with HIV/AIDS. So that's something that the NAACP Columbus, Georgia branch and worldwide is enacting. My first year as branch president of the Columbus branch, I decided to enact our LGBTQ committee. Why? Because we are a secular organization and we fighting for civil rights for everybody. If we are fighting for civil rights for everybody, there are people too. This is not way back then when blacks were, 3/5 of a person? No. So we got to make sure that equity is available to everyone. Criminal justice reform. This is something that we don't like to talk about. But let's talk about returning citizens. Y'all know one of them ex-cons, felons. We just dislike them and we talk about them so badly. But they need access to education. They need access to employment. They need access to housing. But many times because that F word that's following them, they can't get any help. So again, the NAACP made sure that we were major sponsors behind Ban the Box. And Ban the Box in Columbus Consolidated Government is in effect, they've been in effect since 2016. Thank you for that, but I want to help y'all help me go to the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and let's talk to these folk, because those are government jobs that they ban a box on. They didn't ban a box on private sector jobs. That's the downside, and everybody didn't know that. So when we do our next run, I'm coming to Indivisible Columbus, and I'm going to say, this is what the NAACP demands. We're not asking anymore. Like I said, talk is over. We are in the age of we're going to do it now or never, because we've been talking about this since 1965. I never knew that in 2018. I'm still fighting for civil rights. We're also fighting to end mass incarceration. And some of y'all are not going to like this, but ending the death penalty. And why is ending the death penalty important? I feel like you live by it, you die by it. I feel that way too. But what about those innocent people who are wrongly convicted, and then you see in the newspaper or on Facebook in the news feed that said, after 35 years of incarceration, this person has been exonerated. Yeah, well, you just bankrupted that city, because now you got to pay them millions of dollars for the time that they spent in jail, versus paying a half of that and making sure you convicted the right person. So, Indivisible Columbus, ending the death penalty. Ooh, sensible gun laws. That's all I carry mine. I'm just going to tell you, run them over here on 180. But we got to have sensible gun laws. We have a state of carrying guns on campuses. And I thought that was a sad day for the state of Georgia, simply because it's a institution of learning. If I gotta walk in and I gotta look at James over there with a book bag, he looking strange today, he got on a trench coat. That's not what I want to focus on, because I'm trying to get my education. That's what I'm here for. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, is the next person about a ticking time bomb? Is there something going on stable with them? We don't know. And I don't know what we got to do, but we got to talk about sensible gun laws. That's for blacks and whites. And I say we have to have this conversation together, because our white citizens, we take our little bit of children and grandchildren to target practice. Well, I got one other thing to say about that. Two scenarios. Columbus has a high crime rate. We've had 43 murders last year. We pushing pretty hard this year already to beat that number. And it hasn't happened in Columbus, but if you look at nationally, the high school shootings, middle school shootings, elementary school shootings, although these may not always be the student, still, crime in the black community, shootings in high school. Black people committing the crimes over here where black people at, and we shoot the people that we know that are this, excuse me for laughing, that did something to us, and we know them personally. But over here in mass shootings, it's usually a white person that's trying to take out 18 to 36 people. That's why we gotta have a conversation together, because I know y'all know something that I don't know. And I can tell you when Pookie and Ray Ray got a war going on. So that's something that we got to do. And I know I'm making light of it in a sense, because I don't want it to be too rough and too hard, but I'm putting that thought on your brain why we as a community and a citizenry of Muskogee County must talk together. There's no more North Columbus, South Columbus. We are one Columbus. And we have to show Columbus that we are one Columbus. Economic sustainability. I got a few more, but economic sustainability is next. After this, we're going to talk about our politicians. But if you have been in office 20 years in Columbus, Georgia, still a part of that same district, and your community look worse than it did when you first stepped foot over there, leave office, please. Exit stage here. And the reason I say that is because you see it like we see it. I remember when South Columbus used to be the military boom. My dad was in the military. I was born over there. My birth certificate says 1440. Y'all know what 1440 was? Baker Village. Baker Village was where the military used to be. But I promise you, as a youth and a young adult, I never stepped foot over there, not after dark. Because my mama wouldn't let me, one. She wouldn't let me go too many places. But the things that were going on in Columbus 20 years ago with the shootings and the gangs, the same thing that's going on today. And I'm trying to figure, how have you graduated from Carver in 1993 and in 2018, the same thing is going on? We still talking about gangs in school. What happened to the gang task force? What happened to the truancy officers? Oh, we didn't have money in the budget, but we got money to fix the floor at the Muskogee County Jail. Get out of here. I'm just keeping it real. I know y'all didn't want me to keep it real, but if I'm going to be the president of a civil rights organization, I'm talking civil rights to you. I'm not talking something to placate you. I'm going to be as honest and true as I can. We may have differences, but we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Political representation. Fighting for democracy. What does democracy look like? Can anybody help me out? Come on, this is innovative and active. Come on, can somebody tell me what democracy looks like? Whoa, somebody, who was that? Thank you, Jeremy Hobbs. This is what democracy looks like. I'm going to say it, and y'all repeat it, and I want y'all to say it just like I said. This is what democracy looks like.
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 And this is what we're going to do in our city. Because democracy is not this pocket over here talking, this pocket over here talking, or this pocket over here talking. Democracy looks like all of us talking in the room together and being interactive. We can't no longer stand on the sideline and be afraid to talk to white people. We can't be afraid to talk to blacks. We can't be afraid to talk to Latino, because a lot of times Latino and black, we suffer the same consequences. I'm just saying, I know there's some black people that don't believe that. There's some white people that don't believe it too. But there are also some poor white people that we have to fight on behalf of. I'm just saying. We have poor white families who are living paycheck to paycheck, just like blacks. Poor white families who are on fixed incomes, just like blacks. And I don't care if they are white, but some people in our city won't even pick up the phone and talk to them. George, where you at? George Humphreys. As a youth, I used to see Mr. George riding on the bike. I used to see Mr. George walk. A couple of weeks ago, this guy kept hitting me up on Facebook and in my Gmail, and I didn't know who this man was. Didn't even know his name. But when he walked in here today and told me who he was, I knew Mr. George. It's 20 years ago. All this time I've been seeing him. But the first thing that he said to me was, Madam President, we need to do something. We got all these housing authorities. What we going to do about the crime in them? Mr. George Humphreys was proactive. He went to the housing authority and got the names and addresses of each one. He said, let's put voter registration drives. And I said, wait a minute. You are onto something. They used to have tenant associations in the housing authority. Whatever happened to those? This is what democracy looks like, and we finna fix it in Columbus. Or GOTV. GOTV, political representation, and I will also say civic engagement. We doing that with GOTV, the civic engagement part, but political representation. How many of y'all upset that y'all voted for Trump and now he kicking you in the butt? Don't raise your hand because I don't want you to be embarrassed. Oh, one person, I knew you were going to raise your hand. Miss CSU. Yes, that's Miss CSU. I've been knowing her for a while, and she always, this is one of the people that always, you say A, she going to say B, you say C, she going to say D. But we both have great points. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. She came to one of our meetings in our high school cap and gown because she was proud to be a graduate here in the city of Columbus. This is what democracy looks like. We got to have our young engagement. We got to. If we don't, I'm gonna be dead in a little while. I promise you, I'm gonna be 44. I ain't got too many more years. I'm just saying. And if they keep on putting the chemtrails up in the sky, it might be less. But anyway. So we always talk about during the political season, get out the vote. But let's talk about the candidates. Oh, we have political dynasties too, in case you haven't heard about them. We have them in the black and the white elected officials. I dare not say their names because I'm being recorded. But I will say this. Again, if you have been sitting on a post 20 years and nothing in your community has changed, from Skipper Seafood on Buena Vista Road, back down toward Carver, from that end of Carver, back towards Skipper Seafood, back to the other end of Buena Vista Road to the Crystal. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Look at how our neighborhoods have changed. There's so many abandoned buildings, abandoned apartments. I'm like, what happened to the landlord? They can't put a $3 piece of window or plexiglass up? No. They board them up with wood. That looks so bad in any community. And what are we doing? Oh, well, we recognize their name on the ballot. We're going to put them in there again because we know them. Face and name recognition ain't nothing. Tell me what your voting record is about. Are you voting to bring economic sustainability to South Columbus, North Columbus, East and West Columbus? If we're going to have 100 officers in the city of Columbus, make sure those officers are not just concentrated on the south side. Because let me tell you, on Vesper Drive and Twin Chapel off Double Church and around the corner from Double Church Middle School, I seen my first meth bust. And when the police busted that man's house, he was white. They had him on a stretcher. Not a regular stretcher, but the psychiatric stretcher where he was standing up. But when they tore his house down, they were careful. They were in suits, and they were going in there taking piece by piece out of the house. I've never seen, I was like, what he had in there? Did he have a bomb? And somebody next door said, no, he had meth. And I didn't know meth do that kind of stuff to your community. We could breathe that stuff. The next door neighbors was concerned. So it's not just concentrating our police and law enforcement in South Columbus. We got it going on everywhere. So, Madam Mayor, Madam Police Chief, although I know you're on your way out, Mr. Chief Boy, I love him to death. And Deputy Police Chief Lim, who just retired. And John Dahl, who just was ousted as the sheriff. And Marshal Greg Countryman. Please do your jobs equitably. Indivisible Columbus is following Drew Ferguson. I love y'all Indivisible talk page. We be on there talking about some serious stuff. Mr. George. Is Mr. George here? No, the other one. Cantrell. Hi, Mr. George! I'm sorry, y'all. We be having some discussions on that page, and I will tell you, they'll tell you, I didn't believe white people believe what black people do till he started talking to me. And that's the truth. And I even said, is this man real? And I think it was you. Carolyn said, yes, he's real. And somebody else said, he's real. Like, man,